want to give up the past. It never happened.
Right.
So
And like
that's
you said, for the intentions, which I think was really important, was acceptance. That's really what everything comes down to. It's either
yes.
resistance or acceptance. And even today's workbook lesson, God did not create a meaningless world. So what does that mean? If I'm seeing a meaningless world, I'm aligned with the wrong mind. And all I have to do is make a different choice. And we go through this stuff and it sounds simple and it's not, because we have to apply it to the temptations that come up all day long. But it's just such a blessing to have the answer. And I just wanted to say happy birthday to
Blessing is
you.
that's an understatement to how I feel about this.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know who I would have been, Florian. Like, oh my God, Joyce is calling me. This is my sister that I never get to talk to. Girls, I'll be back. You just use this, I won't be long.
okay, I'm
Okay.
gonna go get a coffee. I'll
All
be
right.
right back
I'll
too.
be right back.
All right, so I guess it's just me here.
Are you
And
okay, Lynn? All right, I'll come back. I'll come
oh
back.
yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
No, I just wanted to join in with you guys. And where are we on YouTube? No, right?
Yeah, just now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting off.
Yep.
No,
No graven image here, so
no graven images. No, I'm just like I've been rushing around. Morning is not the greatest for me. I like when we have our meeting. It's like
yeah, yeah.
that
Well, it's
works.
so weird.
Works
Yeah.
for the West Coast, works for anybody who really, Europe, everybody. So that's my time mode anyway, but there's no time. So here I am.
Well, here we are, and we are here together, and there is no time, there is no space, there is no Zoom, there is no face. None of these things really exist or matter at all.
Mm.
And the hair, the clothes, all the little accoutrement, they're all things that we made up.
It's all labels that limit
Yeah,
us from the reality of what we are. Like I'm just loving doing the deep dive into these lessons again this year. And just, God did not create a meaningless world. If we could just accept that, what did God create? Me as a spirit in state of grace forever, with nothing ever having an effect on that. And he tells us limitless in power and in peace. So we just have to accept it. Like Sharon was saying, I liked that intention because it's inclusive. It's inclusive of everything.
exactly. Exactly. And I'm excited that Sharon's sister's calling her.
Yeah.
This, now's the time to repair all the broken parts and bring everything back together that belong together, everything that we are. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we're,
Yeah.
we're not this.
No. And the thing is, we can't really control somebody else's response, but we do have control over our own response to a call for love and meeting it with love and recognizing that it's only my condemnation that's keeping me from the blessing of what I truly am. And if we can just accept that responsibility for sight, it's just so empowering. And for me, it is. And I really do apply it in my own life. And it's just been like my salvation when we recognize that, I am one self united with my creator. And if I'm experiencing something other than that essence of being, then I know I'm in the wrong mind.
That's right.
Choose again, brother.
That's right. Choose again. And that's all you can do because until we do choose again, we're only going to see it this way. We're not going to see the truth of what we are. We're not going to see the joy of our lives. We're not going to see the beauty of who we are. We're not going to see any of those things if we don't choose again. We're only going to see the shit world that we made. And believe me, that is not what I want to see. Not what anybody. I mean, and we're like, oh yes, I love this world. Well, you know what? God did not create it. Isn't
Right.
that what the lesson says today? That
Exactly.
God did not create these things.
Should we pick
So,
it up? Should we read it until she comes back?
sure.
And then
Uh, yeah, would you feel like reading it? I'm just going to get
sure,
my robe.
sure,
I'm a little chilly.
sure.
All right, I'll be right back.
You bet. Lesson 14. God did not create a meaningless world. The idea for today is, of course, the reason why a meaningless world is impossible. What God did not create does not exist. And everything that does exist exists as he created it. The world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making, and it does not exist. The exercises for today are to be practiced with eyes closed throughout. The mind searching period should be short, a minute at most. Do not have more than 3 practice periods with today's idea unless you find them comfortable. If you do, it will be because you really understand what they are for. The idea for today is another step in learning to let go the thoughts that you have written on the world and see the Word of God in their place. The early steps in this exchange, which can truly be called salvation, can be quite difficult and even quite painful. Some of them will lead you directly into fear. You will not be left there. You will go far beyond it. Our direction is toward perfect safety and perfect peace. With eyes closed, think of all the horrors in the world that cross your mind. Name each one as it occurs to you, and then deny its reality. God did not create it, and so it is not real. Say, for example, God did not create that war, and so it's not real. God did not create that airplane crash, and so it's not real. God did not create that disaster and specify a disaster, and so it is not real. Suitable subjects for the application of today's idea also include anything you are afraid might happen to you or to anyone about whom you are concerned. In each case, name the disaster quite specifically. Do not use general terms. For example, do not say, God did not create illness, but God did not create cancer or heart attacks or whatever may arouse fear in you. This is your personal repertoire of horrors at which you are looking. These things are part of the world you see. Some of them are shared illusions, and others are part of your personal hell. It does not matter. What God did not create can only be in your own mind apart from His. Therefore, it has no meaning. In recognition of this fact, conclude the practice periods by repeating today's idea. God did not create a meaningless world. The idea for today can, of course, be applied to anything that disturbs you during the day, aside from the practice periods. Be very specific in applying it. Say, God did not create a meaningless world. He did not specify the situation which is disturbing you, and so it is not real. So just simply beautiful, telling us that what we see is not of God, and all we have to do is accept what we are, and then God creates and extends, and the ego makes and projects. And if we can just sum that up like that, forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, then we're in good shape, because then we know what we are, we know nothing has any effect on it, and we can live and be the demonstration of love that we were meant to be. That's it from me, Lynn.
Thank you so much for that, reading that, Glorian. And that's exactly the very lesson that when Dove was in the hospital and had been going through um, chemotherapy, and he talks about this. I think he really kind of maybe forgot all the different things that happened while he was while he had cancer, because he almost died because not only did they kind of overdose him on the chemotherapy when he went in there, but then the other thing that happened was that it killed his gallbladder. And so the second time he was in the hospital, he was almost dead, and his gallbladder had gone into necrosis. It was dead, and so they had to do emergency surgery on him and remove it. And then he said to the doctor, gosh, if I hadn't have been in here, I would have been coming in an ambulance. And the doctor said, if you hadn't have been in here and we didn't do this, you'd have been coming in a hearse because you would not have survived. He almost died. But then on January 14th, he was listening to someone read the lesson, I believe, or reading the lesson, and it said right there, God did not create cancer. And he was like, what? He knew that, but it hit him that, this thing that seemed to be causing him all this suffering did not exist. And then he said, well, if that's the case, then, why am I doing this? And he had such a profound,
Hey, I'm back.
oh,
Sorry
good,
for
oh, Sharon. And I see Gloria has her hand up.
Yeah, just quickly, I was going to say to that, just if we're in that place and we recognize and really allow the words to become the embodiment of what we are, when we say, I'm sustained by the love of God. I'm sustained by the grace of God. When we recognize that we can just accept what we are now and we don't have to go through these things, we can shift our focus onto our reality and then just let the experience of that, the flow, go out and make these crooked places straight. And that's what you just said about Dove. I mean, if he had a necrotic organ and then of course suddenly, it's healed, it's only by accepting what we are in truth. That's the only healing that there is. We don't really, it's reflected out here in the dream, maybe or maybe not. But the goal is to just align our mind with the Christ, where we're in that. We were talking about that last night. Everyone was talking about death. But if you're in that space of accepting yourself as pure awareness, there's nothing opposite to that. So
Oh, I love what you just
there's
said, Lauren.
no
I gotta
death.
just, these are things to sit with. These are great things to sit with. It's what we said last night, Lynn, just sitting with this. You need to contemplate that you've never been here, that we heard a voice in the dream and we thought it was us.
That's right.
And there's no past and there's no future. My sister called me, the oldest, and she never explained to us why she stopped calling us. There's 4 girls. So that's just another story. But just her call alone was everything to me. It's not about whether she'll be celebrating with me. It's not about me. It's really about love. It's really about love. Love and acceptance, where everybody is they're perfect. No story. Whatever happens already happened. And I really want to just sit with all of it.
So beautiful.
Cutting my hair short and not dyeing it was a step because I don't want this vanity. I don't want any of it. Sure, it's fun to look nice, but who's looking nice for who? It's like Glorian just said, there's nobody out there. And if there's nobody, oh, here it is. Okay. I love this, the way you did this.
Joni did this. Isn't it gorgeous?
It's gorgeous. Oh, she's another one that I love. I just can't go to all the meetings because I'm working now, but I just think that there's this whole dream, any temper tantrum I've ever had was just me. There's never been anyone else. All my comments are coming from a mind that is not me. Oh God, can I read it?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh God, that you would bless me indeed and expand the Christ consciousness within me. Let your hand be with me and keep me from fear that I may not cause pain. Peace, joy, abundance, and prosperity are mine as a blessed child of love. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. When I will heal as I let him teach me to heal in every moment. Amen. in every moment. I just, before I'll, since this is my time, I'm just going to say, I want to hear what you have to say, Lauren, but Zuma called me and I said, oh, it's no big deal being 70. She said, it's a very big deal. So she brought me back to a place of complete gratitude of where I am, being grateful that this character could live 70 years, even though it's just a virtual reality. You know how Zuma puts things to words? They're just so beautiful. And then I'm looking and thinking, yes, as a human body in this world, what a beautiful, beautiful symphony of love. And all the stories were just me having, and all the joy and all my projections, including the character, is all love, no matter which way it shows up. So, can I see love every single moment? And that's the discipline. Lorian, I want to hear
Wow, I just love that you put that prayer up. And again, there's synchronicity because that's been coming to me. I was going to actually mention it on Friday. So this is just so synchronistic because that prayer is really beautiful. And, Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. That doesn't mean people. That means my consciousness, that my consciousness is enlarged to include everything and everyone. Let your hand be with me. Recognize that God is with me wherever I go, that there's nothing, I'm never separate from that experience of God unless I choose to be by making a false choice. And keep me from harm. Keep me protected from the ego. That's the only thing we need protection from. That's the only harm there is the false mind, so that I will be free of pain, so that I can live in joy. And God granted his request. So I love this little prayer because it's basically talking about just accepting the joy that I am. And if I accept it, it's here. It's not, I have to seek outside myself. All I have to do is remember that where I stand is holy ground and I can accept the Christ that I am in any moment right now because it's always here now. Thanks.
Oh, I think that came right from the right mind. I love it. I love it. You know,
Send me that. Can you send me this picture?
yeah, can you send it to all of us like you always do? That is so nice of you to do that too, Lynn.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Absolutely, I'd be thrilled to do that for you. And
I think it's gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, Joni does some gorgeous work, and she is just so willing, and just wanting to be truly helpful. So
Yeah, I think she's a doll too. I just what a path, girls. What a path.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's just a path of seeming consequences with none of all.
that's right. Seeming consequences with none at all. And that's a beautiful way to put it, Sharon. Because yeah, nothing's really happening.
No, it's
Um,
just this stillness that's making this, and we're the infinite. And for me, I don't know what happens when we die, but I would think nothing because we've never been in a body. So what difference does it make? None of it makes a difference. But that's my work now, Lynn, and I want to thank you for sending that to me. Dove also had called me. I'm going to start doing this with Cliff. I think it's beautiful to sit with that death and dying work of Ken Wapnick because he's a master. He's I mean, we all are. I don't see him any different than you girls, really. He just let us and I was like, I guess he's an elder brother.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
and, and the thing that we have to understand is that we are elder brothers as well.
yes.
That's what came to me really over the past like week or so. Um,
Yeah.
because I was looking at this whole situation as to, why am I doing this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And I recognize that it's because, I've been given uh, a platform and a message, and it's not up to me to make up anything. It's just up to me to help others to, come along and do the same thing. So just as Jesus was our elder brother and gave us the the plan for how to do it, starting, from his apparent crucifixion, which was just this morning, just today, just now. It's right and now happening, the crucifixion and the resurrection. In fact, I'm in a group, and I don't want to take over your time here, Sharon, but I'm in a group on
Hey,
Monday.
honey. Cliff? Hello?
Are you on the phone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Cliff called, and I know I'll be right there. I'll be right
Okay.
there.
All right. All right, then I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this. What the group that I'm in on Monday nights, we're reading this incredible book called Resurrection Consciousness by well, it's a channeled book from um, uh, between Joshua and Mother Mary, and it's there's no specific title or person of the person that is that is giving it, but you can call it whatever you like. But we're going through this book. Um, and last night, the section that we were talking about, can you see the book on the screen? Is it showing up? Um, Anybody who might be seeing this, I don't know, just us,
No, I
okay.
don't see the screen. I don't see the book. I still see the prayer of Jabez.
Okay, so I'm just going to switch the share. Last night was really profound meeting for us. And so this particular section that we went through is called the memory of the resurrection. And what he's talking about is that the resurrection is the whole thing is happening at the same time. So the crucifixion and the resurrection, same time. The tiny mad idea and right now, same time. There was no time in eternity, he says that here, when you were created as a most pure, holy extension, full of the beauty of perfect love, the history of your soul was also created. Since in creation everything happens at once, there is no time in eternity, at least as you conceive of it. Therefore, the creation outside of time of your soul reality includes the instant of creative light, that moment in which you were called into existence in union with your will to be. Within it was the option to exercise free will through separation or identification with the opposite of love, in order for you to consciously choose Christ. And there was also the resurrection along with it, where dwelt the existence of a new creation, what we here call the new heaven and the new earth. So the resurrection is a part of our creation. And at the instant that we were created, that same moment that we were called into existence, and it's the entire history of what we are, that that what we have made was something that we made, actually, the world with a lack of love, but it was only so that we could consciously choose Christ. And that's what I get also from reading the impersonal life, and a lot of from reading of Joel also, is that we would be slaves to God if we were just told this is what it is, and you shall believe only this, and you shall experience only this. We would have no free will, because there would be nothing to choose, nothing to choose from. But being given this opportunity to choose between the world of illusion and the world of reality, that's what gives us the uh, our free will. And so he says, imagine the world of illusion, the realm of separation and guilt, as a creation that, when you called it into existence, had dissonant elements, like music with discordant notes, then love adjusted it so that it would not only be the creation you really longed for in total harmony with God's will, which is also yours, but that would be would be a living expression of the beauty that you are. The creations that the sons and daughters of God create without love can and should be restored by love. They can be, because love has the power to make all things new, that is, to adopt every form and embellish it because of its embrace of light. And then he goes on, it must do so because you never wanted to suffer, nor did you want to live forever in a world devoid of meaning. Therefore, your divine mother, who sees into you secretly, always knew that your will was to live eternally in bliss. Although perhaps your creations did not reflect this perfectly, at the center of each of them is a spark of holiness, because you are its creator and a child of holiness. And so, we're talking about resurrection consciousness. He says the resurrection is the convergence of creation. And I assure you, this is eternally true. Then we can conceive of its history as an evolution of consciousness. And it doesn't mean when he says evolution of consciousness that we were once something and now we're becoming something else. He says there is no such thing as evolution, because what comes from God is perfect and complete, just like you and all creation. So we have this idea of evolution, but it's like, are you evolving when you open your eyes in the morning and becoming not the dream character that's sleeping, but the character in the world that's here? No, you're not changing. There's no change. Nothing changes, because what we are is what we've always been. So this evolution of Lynn from a sperm and an egg to a person sitting here talking to you is not really an evolution at all. It's what I've always been. And there was never any difference. Oh, Sharon's back. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sharon.
No, I want to share this time with you girls. To me, joining is more important than anything else. I don't, what I have to say over and over is, like the parents and children is a difficult classroom is so helpful, because it becomes practical on how we need to see our children as the space. Everybody is the space. And if we've never been in these bodies, then nobody ever leaves.
That's right.
So, and the resurrection, now you like this group on Mondays, right? Is that when you go, or Tuesdays?
Monday night. Yeah, after our
Because
Monday
he
night
sends it
thing.
to me, but I'm always so tired by then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
So,
is this Sebastian's channeling too?
yeah, this is Sebastian's channeling. Yeah. Yeah. And I just wanted to read this last thing and then I'll
Yeah,
turn it over
read
to
it as much as you can. I
Okay.
just think that just gathering together and just really chatting about gratitude, because that's what's the most important thing.
Exactly, exactly. So he says, once the light of resurrection illuminates the entirety of your mind, so when we're thinking with the Christ mind, you return to heaven just as Jesus did. No one not in that state of consciousness can go with you, since they are not yet ready. However, once you rise to the holy abodes, you are indeed united with everything, and you can see them as closely as if you and they were walking together hand in hand. Does walking a path with a blind sister mean that you cannot see her as well as care for her, embraced in loving mutuality? You are never separated from the love you have given or received, even in the illusory world. All love is holy and eternal because of what it is. Do not think that the love you have felt in the old world has been fruitless, or that your charity has fallen on deaf ears, or that the acts or feelings of compassion that you have given to the world have stopped creating loving effects, or that your prayers have stopped reaching the heart of God. It all has the power to bring heaven to earth. Remember, beloved of my heart, nothing can stop the power of love, not even a childish fantasy, however powerful and terrifying it may seem. Truly, I tell you that the creation of the new heaven and the new earth has been carried out in perfect unity with you who receive these words in union with the entire universe. So it's already done. It's already done. And all we're doing is walking each other home. And we may see a little bit more, we may understand a little bit more because we've studied the Course of Miracles and we've done all this work, but it doesn't mean that, when we're walking the path with our blind sister, that we see her as anything different than what we are, because she is the same thing as we are. It's like looking at a sleeping baby. They're sleeping. That's all. It's not that they're not here sharing my world and enjoying, the things I'm enjoying right now. They're sleeping. And that doesn't make them any different than you or me. Anyway, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Sharon. And I know I know you want to read, and I want to hear you reading
I
from.
don't know if I want to read. I mean, I'm really okay with we could just talk. I mean, the
Okay.
thing is, we all seeming are in the same place today. And like I said, joining is everything. The book, I mean, it's just like different things that you can read that he has, Ken Wapnick has set up with question and answers. Do you have anything you want to share? Now,
Um,
I want to read this because he's talking about something that might be very helpful, and I opened it too. So I'm just
please
going to
do.
read it. It says,
I'm
forgiving
going to
the
use my
abuser.
nebulizer, so I'm going to turn off my microphone.
Okay. All right, sweetie. Okay, look, forgiving the abuser. Now, he's talking about pretty much those interested in purchasing Forgiveness and Child Abuse. Would you forgive? Now, I have that book, and it is a very, very challenging book. I bought it because of my own, who knows why, my own love for psychology. But this woman had abuse that I've never seen. And Ken was the one, she asked a lot of people what they thought. And because of Ken's firm knowing, he's saying to her, forgive. So he's going to talk about forgiving the abuser, and he's going to explain it in his words. And I think that's important for all our egos, really, because spirit knows nothing happened. So living in this world, it is difficult to ignore the brutal facts of what Robert Burns referred to as man's inhumanity to man. The signs have always been with us, from the brutality of ancient Rome to the modern day Holocaust of Nazi Germany, Southeast Asia, Rwanda, and Bosnia. From the tortures committed in the name of political or religious ideas to the all too common tales of child abuse and torture, such as we had in Lois Einhorn's graphic portrayal of life in her psychological death camp. Now, she's a professor, Lois Einhorn, and it's not necessary, for me to tell you that I have not seen anything so cruel what her parents did to her, but she has risen above it. I don't know if she's on a spiritual path. Obviously, to write a book like that, she had to pull herself from somewhere. But let's see what he says about this, because I guess Spirit wanted me to read this because I turned to it. So, how to make sense of this, one of the greatest challenges to any observer of the human condition. And it does appear to be particularly human condition. Animals kill, but almost always out of physical need, not the psychological need of a cruel sadist intending to bring harm, often brutally, to another. It is a biological fact that all living things must feed off external sources to meet their survival needs, including food, water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, light, etc. It is also a psychological fact that human beings have a strong need to project their unconscious darkness of their self-hatred onto others. This cruel dynamic results in a condition where they believe and then experience that they are able to magically escape the pain of this guilt or hatred by attacking others verbally, behaviorally, in their thoughts, or a combination thereof. This is really something. Now, you girls didn't read this book, nor would I tell you that it's helpful. It was very, I think for me, the book on Lois Einhorn, what brought up for me was this tremendous amount of compassion for everyone involved. Because it was just, and it's like, where do you see the symphony there? So let's see what he says, because the symphony is in everything. The love is in every part of this, even with in terms of the appearance, right? So he's writing, the dark forces of hate buried within all of us can be reduced to our need to survive physically and psychologically. A guilt-laden need, which ultimately is the expression of the principle that someone must lose if I am to gain. I'm just going to read this slowly. It is this all too human tendency to find pleasure, satisfaction, and gain at the expense of others that runs like blood-drenched thread throughout our history, both as societies and as individuals. The clear fact that a vicious minority blatantly lives this out does not, I can't say, this word is obviate the presence. So it doesn't exclude the presence of those same tendencies in all of us. Because as we know, when it's in one, it's in all. We were not made as egos to be nicer. It appeared in the play that we had an easier part. I certainly had an easier part than my, projections of abuse. However, sitting in that and realizing when I see something on the screen, like a politician or a president that I don't like, what thought am I believing? It's got to be separation. And separation is about survival. And why are people so cruel to each other? It's all in the play. Let's see what else he has to say, because I don't know the answers, really. The clear fact that a vicious minority blatantly lives out. Freud's systematic study of the dynamic of projection, wherein we see outside what we find unacceptable inside, helps us to understand how this phenomena of projected hate operates in everyone's unconscious. A Course in Miracles, a contemporary spiritual thought system that builds upon Freud's psychodynamic insights, offers us a spiritual perspective that does full justice to our physical, psychological experience in the world, at the same time affirming our identity as spirit, the true self that transcends this material world entirely, as does, of course, our Creator, transcending the dualistic and illusory world of evil, good and evil, victim and victimizer, life and death. I'm going to just read everything I have of his, because the readiness for me, it's just delicious. The way he explains things, because he's explaining from the higher self, and at the same time, the psychology is the ego, and the ego starts to calm down and become balanced. Does it drop away? Well, not in my experience, so I have no idea, nor do I care. The idea of A Course in Miracles is that these lessons are a mind training of relaxing those thought forms. Systematically, Jesus made this, but he always said it's a process. And the ego, of course, wants it now. when in fact that's all there is now. So Course in Miracles teaches that projection makes perception, that the world is the outside picture of an inward condition. Therefore, our perceptions of an external situation reveal the thoughts in our minds that we wish to deny. So, what could possibly Hitler have thought of himself to have that much hate that he projected out? And that's what happens in the script. But there are no people doing this. It's all just this one consciousness in a battle of good, good and evil. The dream is about that, the world of duality. So it's kind of like, let's see what else he says. It goes without saying that, for example, accusing someone of being a sinner because of a rape does not mean that I'm accusing myself of a specific form of rape. Now, this is going to be clarity here. However, the meaning of such an aggressive act is surely in me as well. Right. You don't know what that could be. The actions are meaningless, really. It's the rage and fear and hatred the ego has for itself. And that's not who we are. If we are in the wrong mind, we are talking all day to a mind that's only talking to itself because there's no form. So it's kind of like a waste of time. It's a waste of time, but there's something. What do we get out of it? Well, we get this like rise in our consciousness, but it's wrong-minded. The energy is like stuck energy. It's not the energy of the divine. And so it leaves us into hell every day, because we believe that we could actually hurt another when no one's out there but mind. So it's interesting to say, however, the meaning of such an aggressive act is surely in me as well. The need at times to dominate another through sheer force of will or physical strength in order to have my desires fulfilled. Now, this is deep. Not caring about the other person, but only about myself. So, again, the tendency may not be nearly as extreme or as violent in expression as sexual rape, but exists in all of us nonetheless. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't rape her. That's the ego. I didn't do that because there's always something worse that the ego can then feel better, just so we stay with the character, just so we stay with the myth. Anybody want to share on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you're talking about, reading a book about someone who's been raped or attacked or whatever has happened to them. And yeah, I may not have, raped someone, but I have wished to have power over another person. And we pretty much know that rape is not a sexual attack. It's a power. It's taking power over another person. And so how many times have I done that? And I've done that with you. I've done that with so many people.
Well, I do it too. That's what we do as humans. This is like it's like tell the truth. There's this part in us that wants to be right. There's this part in us that wants power when we are the power.
Yeah,
that's something
exactly.
to sit with too.
So, as Rafi's always talking about, is it need for control, approval? What's the other one? Anyway, that's exactly what it is. We're using other people as props to
That's all it
keep
is.
us, to make me into something that I'm not. to give me um, an ability that I don't have to be over another person. And it's all the same, and it's our methods that are different. And and if you could just look at that yourself and look, I mean, I'm not saying you, if I can just look at it myself and
No, I
see
can see
when
the
I do it.
hatred in me very much. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
If I hate somebody, who is hating who? It's always about me. But sometimes, it's not going to happen to me as much because this is coming to a prayer now in me. Like, no more, no more bullshit. You're 70. It's time for you to grow up. That's what I'm saying in a nice way.
yeah,
You're not, you're all, everybody's the same. Everybody is equal. Everybody has the same ego. So when you see a serial killer, can you bring up compassion even?
yeah.
I'll be right back because Glorian
Okay.
wants to speak to
Glorian has
anyway,
her hand
because
up.
I
Go
want to
ahead,
go to
Gloria.
the bathroom. I'm going to listen
Okay.
while Glorian talks.
Okay.
Yeah, good conversation, girls. And what was coming to me as you were speaking is I mean, we've all looked at the dynamics of the ego, and we know that it manifests in different ways. But the ego is the ego, and there's one ego. So what's not love is murder. So once we own that, and stop trying to push it down or saying spiritually bypass it or make it spiritual, which it cannot be, then we can completely surrender it in favor of what we are. So God did not make a meaningless world. That's exactly what we're moving into, that realization of. And before, when you were saying something, otherwise it's like forgiveness to destroy, because we could be like, well, I'm not a rapist, I'm not this, and so we could forgive them, but no, the idea is there's one ego, one manifestation of many manifestations of the one problem, which is fear, which is what the ego is. The problem is I don't know if I'm connected to God, and the resolution of that is accepting what I am in truth. And it was when you were talking before about the other book, which seems great. What was coming to me is like what we're seeing of ourselves is the image that is a reflection of what we think we are. So we still have the unresolved guilt that's being projected out there through the false mind, showing us what we are not, to learn that we're not that, so we can make a different choice of what we are. And as we accept a greater um, awareness of the love that we are, and it really comes down to accepting, because the miracle waits unwelcome, then that reflection will be different when we let go of some of this unresolved guilt. And we know that the atonement process is the undoing of guilt, and and atonement, accepting of myself as one. So it's really all here for us laid out. And there really is no inequality. And that's why Jesus tells us only equals are at peace, because if we're recognizing and accepting what we truly are, then we're going to recognize that beyond all the seeming concepts that we see. And the ego, if we're going to buy into it, doesn't matter the manifestation of the form of it, it's murder. So do we want that? And it becomes very simple when we break it down to what we're really doing. And, Jesus laid it out for us so clearly here in the Course, that if we're really willing to look with the eyes of Christ, we can't miss it. Thanks.
Wow, yeah, thank you, Gloria. And that's it. It's just, am I willing, again, the last unanswered question. We look at that and Jesus asked us, do you want to have power over the world? Do you want to have what you want? Do you want to have be in control of everything? He has all these different questions. And then he says, if you want all these things, are you willing to see what you deny because it's the truth? And that's the real question. It's not, am I willing to, do I want to have riches and fame, or excuse me, do I want to be powerful and in control? Do I, none of those things. It is, do I want to see the truth? Because, and he says, once you figure that out, what you want there, then it'll be real clear to you what it is that you really want. And right now it doesn't seem clear to us because we think we want this and we think we want that. We think I mean, there's there's so many things that we think we want, but in reality, what we really want is the peace of God. And you recognize that you're in peace when you no longer question and are no longer in fear. And so and you just accept. You don't say, why is this happening? What's happening to me? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? You just accept it as it is. And, once you do that, it becomes really clear, um, what is it that I really want? And, and uh that's really and this is what he says. I'm going to just read it here. He says, um, he says to that question, consider carefully your answer to the last question you have left unanswered still, and let your reason tell you that it must be answered and is answered in the other three. And then it will be clear to you that as you look on the effects of sin in any form, all you need to simply ask yourself, is this what I would see? Do I want this? And he says, this is your one decision. This is the condition for what occurs. It is irrelevant as to how it happens, but not why. You have control of this. And if you choose to see a world without an enemy in which you are not helpless, the means to see it will be given you. So that's it. We are the ones who have control. And we are the ones who choose. Do I want to see a world full of enemies, or do I want to see a world of love? And if I want to see a world of love, then that's what I'll see. And there won't be there's no indecision, no ifs, ands, or buts. Uh, you
Well,
you once you figure that out, you don't have to ask questions anymore. Gloria, go ahead, hon.
yeah, that's it. And I just wanted to share, I'm doing this deep dive with a few people into the first 60 lessons of the workbook. And, I read it before. God did not create a meaningless world. And some of the reflections that were coming to me is just what we're talking about here today. What we really have to accept in recognition that God did not create a meaningless world. The meaninglessness comes from the projection of our fear. So I didn't finish it yet, but some of the contemplation that was coming to me this morning was God did not create a meaningless world, but what he did create was I am spirit. He created us as extension of his love, spirit. Spirit is not in time or space. Spirit is infinite, limitless in power and in peace. Spirit, the only identity that exists. And take no thought, rest in spiritual identity. So those were just a few of the things coming. But I think if we get to that place where we recognize that if we accept what we are in truth, there's never any opposite to that. That's all that is. And that's what is meant by Melchizedek, without beginning, without end, what we are eternally, Christ consciousness. So the more we reinforce these ideas and contemplate them, take them into meditation, the more impartation comes through, and the more we realize them as the truth and not just words, because that's the idea. We're looking to get the experience that comes beyond the labels of words and thoughts. And we can't help it. Like even last night we were in the meeting and we were talking about somebody and describing somebody, and we're like, oh, this person's good, this and that. We are so conditioned to the dualistic mind of good and bad, right and wrong, that even if we feel we're saying something positive, it's still bringing us into this mental realm. What we are hoping to see is that we move back from that and become that witness, become the observer, recognizing that these images are separate and apart from what I am. They're not good. They're not bad. I'm giving them the meaning that they have for me based upon I see only the past. And the meaning that they have for me based on the past is meaningless. So if we really work these first beginning lessons of this workbook, the error, we cannot help but see the error. We cannot help but realize the upside down thinking, which merely needs to be reversed so that we can experience the light has come. And that's our goal, is to walk around in that space consistently aware of God's presence as where I stand, as what I am. And when these temptations and distractions come in, we stop it immediately. And that's why we were laughing that time. But that's really all we have to do, is stop it and be willing to give my life to God to guide today. Thanks so much.
That was just a blur. Yeah, that was beautiful. And I feel like, if somebody were to ask me right now, what would you want for your birthday? I just want to be done with talking about anything that's not really happening, I guess. But then when I sit with that, oh, there's somebody at my door and I'm not dressed. So I don't know who it could be. Somebody else take the mic because I don't know who it is. Hold on.
All right, I'm sorry I missed the last thing you said, Sharon, because my daughter called. So, but
She said she had to go check the door.
oh, okay. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
They went away. It was just, I didn't know who it was and I didn't, they were really banging. Anyway, so, yeah, just a commitment to kind of see that responsibility for sight really means responsibility for sight. Like it's no longer a choice because right here, right now, the holy instant is really all that's here. And like we said last night, just sit with the fact that you've never been here. Sometimes Ken Wapnick would bring up, you think you're here, you think you're in a world. And when he would say it, I would think, well, of course I do. But where he was, and he's basically, to me, like I said, he's an elder brother that seemingly looked like he was in the higher mind, quote, most all the time I ever knew him anyway. And the idea that the readiness, it takes, for this mind, there's stages of readiness. And the readiness now has come in with a prayer that I am now 70 and I just want grace. I just want the peace of God. I have to be done because it's all so silly. All I'm doing is playing with my concepts. Anyway, can I go to finish? Oh, Rafi wants to speak. I want to just share one thing. The forgiving the abuser is very, very important. If we don't finish it today, we can finish it next week, Lynn, because that is something that will come up a lot, especially now with the new, administration. And when we look at it the way Ken's going to show us, we really can get that, yes, we're doing this to ourselves. There is no abuser. There is nothing but a thought in the mind of good and evil, and none of it is true. Rafi, share, please.
Yeah, well, you just reminded me of cute. You think you're a person, you think you're in this world, you think you were born, you think you're going to live for a while, you're going to die. That is so cute. It's adorable, really.
It's kind of like, well, I could tell you've been there for a while,
I'm
but
sorry,
for me,
I didn't know you were going to keep talking. I thought I was talking. But I love reminding myself of that all the time. And that, just don't get tied up in a dream. Don't try to handle the dream. Don't try to make the dream better than it is. Don't try to fix it. Don't try, because it ain't real. It ain't true. And Nothing that I see is, everything I see is a projected thought image. Okay, it's just a thought because we think in pictures. If I say, if I say the word cow, you don't see COW, you see a picture of a cow because that is evidence that that's what all thoughts are pictures. And these are nothing but projected pictures. Get hung up in projected pictures, not a good idea. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Well, I'm done too. Lynn, if you want to do our fifth chapter, I mean, our book now, or if you want me to finish it, what we were doing, Rafi is reading Parents and Children, the Most Difficult Classroom by Kenneth Wapnick. There's two books and it's extremely helpful because the laziness that the ego has, like it'll just creep in and say, but you can't love that one, and you can because they're not there. And that's what's really the most important part of this birthday, that I'm talking to myself. Anyway, Lynn, do you want to do the book now, your book now? Like did Rafi leave? No, he's here still. Yeah. Okay. Lynn? She might have taken a step out. Rafi, are you there too?
She might be talking to her daughter. She mentioned she called, so I'm not really sure.
Oh,
Sharon.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
Isn't it
sounds great.
so, this virtual reality is happening, like it's so obvious to me. And you know what that makes me feel like? Like, because there's always like this, I guess, this ego's stubbornness to like still want something from this, and there is nothing to get.
Right. No, that's it. Jeff said it the other night. He said, if you desire anything here, you will suffer. And at first
Yeah,
I was like, wow. And then I was like, well, that is absolutely true
yeah.
because we have to recognize, seek not outside yourself, and that everything that we have is already within our consciousness, within what we truly are. So we don't really need anything. So all of these things that we seemingly think we need are the golden calf that's keeping us from the experience of the oneness that I am. And, like we say these things and whatever, and then we go deeper and deeper and deeper into allowing them to be revealed to us. That's why I think the meditation is so important, because that's where we receive the inspiration from the still small voice, the impartations that then become the embodiment of who we are so that we can live from that space. That's the idea, to surrender the mental thinking mind. Thinking, we can't think our way out of it. We have to move into what Jesus tells us is knowledge, which is the experience of the oneness that I am, recognizing that it's unbroken. And the Spirit of God is unbroken until I place my projections of fear onto what is. So there it is, take responsibility for sight. And that really solves all of the problems. It ultimately does. It's empowering. It gets rid of victimization consciousness, all of the blame and the guilt. If we just sit with the fact that I'm responsible for what I see, and if I didn't make the exact image I'm seeing, there's something there that's telling me that I still need to look within to find out what block I'm projecting to keep me from the pure awareness of what I am. So like you were saying, somebody was saying here before about, and she didn't mean physically blind, but she's saying the blind. Like if we're thinking someone outside of us is not seeing it, then what aren't we seeing? We're not seeing the reality of what we are if we're in that judgment. So
See, that's what I was thinking.
yeah,
It's always a grievance, always a grievance.
yeah. So if we're even seeing it, we're not in the right mind.
Right.
So we just say, Spirit, help me see this differently, and we choose again. And it's a practice, a continuous practice, a moment to moment practice, because the ego speaks first. So every single thought is a judgment and is a temptation for us to buy into guilt and fear. So when we recognize that and we make a practice of allowing, Jesus tells us in the principles, miracles become habits, but they only become habits if we allow them to work through us. And we don't work them. We have to surrender what we think we know so the Spirit of God can work through us and correct our perception. And that's moving us into true perception or miracle mindedness, which is exactly where we want to be. Thanks.
Perfect.
That's just so clear. Yeah, there's nothing to really, the thing is when we see each other, as soon as we open our mouth, pretty much we're back in the past. Because thoughts break up everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is so much fun. I'm really enjoying having this chat with y'all this morning for Sharon's birthday. Happy birthday, Sharon, and happy birthday, Sheriff. She comes in. I'm not sure.
No, I already wrote to her last night. She's not. She has like different things she's doing. So,
Yeah, I just
but the birthday is all about, you know, owning who I am. Like that is really what it's a rebirthing of who you really are. That's
exactly.
really a birthday.
And what a happy birthday it is, huh?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when I found the course and what it was saying, first I started to laugh hysterical, but then it was like, do you realize what you just got? You got freedom here. But then, of course, ego came back and it wasn't my time because it's really being controlled by the one mind. And once the one mind, of course, that's what we are. But there was so many concepts. And now I see that it's so funny to have them hide the light. The light's here. That's all that's here.
yeah. Rafi has his hand up. Rafi, please go ahead.
Right before I hit the link to join this group, a tremendous amount of fear came up. It just blasted to the surface. There was a lot of wanting safety and security. I never questioned it. I just welcomed it and welcomed it and welcomed it. I said, could you let go of wanting security? Yes, I let go of wanting safety. And I did that for about 2 or 3 minutes. And because they're just fears, and the fears are just feelings, and we are not those fears, we are not those feelings. I was able to get a hold of them and just continue to let them go and release them and release them and release them. So I got to the point where I was completely peaceful, and the happiness that I am just showed itself. And then I clicked on this and and got this feedback of all this positive energy coming out of this group. It was a great transition. It was just what a great way to start the day, so to speak. Even though the day is just the dream, but it was a great way to initiate, and I'm just so grateful for it all.
I'm grateful to have you here. I just want to write it down because I when this comes up, it's approval. Wait a minute, because I have the book, but security.
Wanting approval, wanting control, wanting to be safe and secure.
Yeah.
And you can feel it in your body.
But that's become that is already it's already happening through you because of conditioning. You reconditioned your mind to just listen.
I don't know if that's the phrase, but I would use. All I know is that these feelings, you guys have said you never, what is the phrase of what
Never
it's
upset
what
for
you
the
think it
reason I
is?
be.
It's never what you think it is. Well, all of this stuff is coming up from something we call a past that doesn't exist. In this dream, that doesn't exist, which is all, as Robert Adams refers to it, as all falsely imagined. But
Boy, his book's great. I mean, I read his books early on.
Excuse me, let me finish my sentence, please.
Okay, sure.
If it occupies your consciousness, then it's keeping you from seeing the truth of what we really are, and getting to what we really are, or remembering what we really are, is the only purpose. So, in a way, not in a way, it does quiet the mind, and beyond the quiet mind, beyond the mind, in the quiet is the truth. That's the voice of God. That's what we truly are. So it's, in a way, all of this releasing of all of this negative energy, non-loving energy, is active meditation, and the quieting is the result, and whoo, that's a bliss that can't even be described. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sharon. What were you going to say?
You don't need to be sorry. I just have that kind of crazy neurodivergent mind. So I should just raise my hand. I don't remember what I was going to say. It's just that these are habits that you developed for years. And that's what this has to be. It has to be a habit. It has to be a habit because we're changing our habits. It's Lynn's thing now. So Lynn, if you want to call, Gloria has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Gloria. No, it's not my thing. It's our thing. So
Okay.
that's all we have to remember is that Lynn is not in charge of this. Lynn just happens to be here, but yeah, that's why Lynn was so excited that Mandy wanted to take a charge of herself. Like, good, thank you. So, even if I still have to do the same amount of stuff, it's still not me. It's up to you. Anyway, go ahead, Gloria.
Right. I love that, Lynn. That's what I love also about, the way it comes to me on Friday. This is not my meeting or your meeting. This is our meeting, and it's actually Holy Spirit's meeting because we're out of the way, listening and following the guidance as we're directed. And that's what when Rafi was speaking before, I put it in the chat. The reason we come here together in this community is because we offer each other unconditional, impersonal love, which is God's love. And when we don't, if we do make a projection, we take responsibility for it because we recognize it's coming from us. And we're here to have the holy encounter where we join in oneness, where we recognize the equality of each other, which is how we were created. And that's why we come together here to have this constant reminder. And, nothing, of course, all of us sometimes wander into temptation, but the great thing about this group is everyone's willing to take responsibility for their misperceptions that they project out there. But anyway, I wasn't going to say that, but what I was going to say, what came through me when Rafi was speaking was, we're never upset because of the reason we think. I'm never upset because of the reason I think, because we think we see a meaningful world. But all that we are actually seeing are our meaningless thoughts based upon our story projected out there on a blank space, which is reflected back, showing us what we think. And we can go back to today's lesson. God did not create a meaningless world. So it's our responsibility to, if we're not thinking and feeling, and actually, I think it was yesterday's lesson where he was talking about a meaningless world engenders fear. If we really take a look at those words, engendering fear, those are feelings. So it ties in how the thoughts and the feelings are kind of the same thing, the error that's showing us what we think. But we can look at it as error. And the idea is not to be guilty about it or beat ourselves up about it. Recognize that this is what we're doing and then be empowered in the fact that we can make another choice about it. But if we do look at that, a meaningless world, the meaningless thoughts that I project upon a world that's neutral are engendering fear because the thoughts are fearful. And then we experience the feeling, which is the fear, which is the same thing. They're really tied together. And the escape from them is to recognize their meaninglessness in favor of the meaningful, which is what God has given us as we were created. So thanks. This is a great discussion this morning. I'm really glad I'm here.
I'm really glad you're here too. And it is a great discussion. And that's why I'm not moving into doing anything else right now. We're generally reading a book or something. But I think the conversation is so valuable and so much fun. So yeah, and the what you were saying when you said it's neutral, it is neutral. And I keep going back to the movie screen because that really is what has been. At first, when I heard movie screen and I thought, yeah, I'm sitting in the audience watching the movie, blah 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 blah. But I still think I'm the character in the movie, and I still think that other people are the characters in the movie. And I think that's the thing that shifted for me this last week was the recognition that there the who I think are other people, and especially because I read that thing that Tom Conway posted about, the guru saying, I'm not afraid of death, or the person who thinks that they're spiritually evolved saying, I'm not afraid to die, I'm not worried about dying, I don't care about dying, it's whatever. And then when asked, well, what about your children? They're like, "Whoa, no, no, I don't want to see that." That's something I definitely am not happy about the idea of. Um, and the fact is, it's still the neutral screen with the neutral projection of the neutral characters that I have given meaning to. And I sure I can say I don't care about death. I'm not worried about death, but I am concerned about what my kids are going to do when I'm gone. I am concerned. I mean, my kids are like totally, and not because I did anything specifically to make them dependent on me, but my daughter called me when her house was on fire, and I had to tell her, call the fire department. That says something to me. that she would have called me first. My son will call me when something goes wrong before he calls, goes to the emergency room, he'll call me, Mom, what do you think I should do? Yeah, go to the freaking emergency room. He almost died, almost bled to death internally from, um, basically hemorrhoids, internal. Uh, don't call me, call 911. You know, I'm not going to give you any better advice than that. And, but that's how it is. We get dependent on the character, and we think that the character, but has a character on a movie screen ever told you what you needed to hear? Sometimes it has. Sometimes I've heard things watching a movie that I needed to hear that. But that doesn't mean that that line in the script on the movie was put there just specifically so that I would get the information I needed, even though it was because I put it there. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking, Gloria, and then Rafi, go ahead, Gloria.
Yeah, I love that, Lynn. And the interesting thing about that is if we're really honest about it, when we are in crisis, who do we think of first? Those that we have the special love relationship with, those that make us feel secure, what have you. Because I've done that myself where I should have actually called somewhere else, and the first thing I did was reach out to my daughter, which is, it's just that whole the idea of, and I was half asleep at the time, but the thing is, that's what we go to. We go to our special love, our special relationships that we feel is like our safety net, I suppose. But what you were saying about the characters, it came to maybe through this. I was either watching something, whatever. But the idea is these projections that we have, we call them shadows from the past or dream worlds, whatever it is, but they're really actually conflict characters. You said characters, and it came to conflict characters because what we're projecting on them is the conflict that we still have in our mind. So we also see reflections of love presence out there too. But if we just recognize that when we're judging a brother, that we have projected this conflict character into our dream to teach us something. And, there again, we're taking responsibility. I am responsible for what I see. But if we use everything, that's the whole idea, is not to resist, not to run, not to try to hide from the ego, but look at it and be willing and honest with yourself so that you can actually learn from it, because this is a classroom. Why else would we be here? And as we allow spirit to work through us and see these things in true perception, then they fade away, because Jesus tells us, forgive this and it'll disappear. But all that means is the willingness not to judge and project my stuff out there on it. So this lifetime is an opportunity for us to move into as great a self-realization as we can. So then, as we were talking before, the projection that we then make is a higher vibration, and the image that we seemingly think we are or see will be different, will be a light body. So that's the goal. We want to move from the third dimensional awareness into the Christ consciousness, which is the fourth dimensional awareness, so that we can experience a greater sense of what we truly are. Thanks so much.
Wow, that was beautiful, Gloria. And honestly, so clear. And thank you so much for that. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yes, in regard to your reference to the movie screen, to me, the movie screen is our screen of awareness, consciousness, and everything bounces off it. If we take it seriously, then we're not coming from the point of view of that's our consciousness, our higher consciousness, our higher awareness. We're coming from a point of view of the judgment, victim, ego concept. And the other thing that came up was when Gloria said responsible for our thoughts. Our thoughts are spontaneous. We don't actually set out to think something terrible. It just pops up in our head. The responsibility we have is to how we react or don't react to those thoughts. If I identify with the thoughts, then I'm identifying with something that isn't real, true, or what I am. And that's that ego, the victim mentality again. And if I don't identify with the thoughts, I stand back and witness them and let them just fade away because what are they anyway? What are thoughts? Where do they come from? What's the source of thinking? Is there a thinker? Where's the source of the thinker? If I get into that, the thoughts have no hold whatsoever. And there's no identifying with them. And I can free myself of them. Freeing myself of the thoughts is like freeing myself of feeling. Bring them up, let them be there, welcome them. Okay, I see them. Don't judge them. Let them go. Same thing with the feelings. They're not really good or bad. We say this feeling is good. But the mind says, the ego mind says, this is a good feeling. This is a bad feeling. There's no such thing. That's its own sense of judgment, and it has nothing to do with it. If we can isolate it and see it for what it is or isn't, and that it isn't what we really are, and there's no identification from it, then we're coming at it from what you talked about before, is that movie screen, that screen of awareness. And it makes all the difference. It really does, because then there's peace, then there's calm, then there's being all loving and allowing and acceptance. And otherwise, it's the chaos of mental activity. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Rafi. And as you said, those are not my thoughts. These thoughts that pop into my head are not my thoughts. That's all part of the script. It's the ego thought system that is like, it. Uh, if you have ever gone to one of these, which I did for the first time when I was in London and Heathrow in the airport, it's like a sushi bar, and you just sit down, and there's like a conveyor belt, and it goes around, and there's all these dishes on the conveyor belt, and you can look at them and you can pick it up and take it if you want it. And then that's how you don't have a waiter that comes and asks you, nothing like that. It's just this conveyor system, and that's exactly it. All the thoughts are being just brought up to us, and we can look at it and say, ooh, I want that one, or no, I don't want that one, or I did want that one, but it's gone, so I'm going to get this next one. These thoughts that are coming into our heads are not our own thoughts. So, why we take into it and say, oh, I thought this and I thought that. I didn't think any of those things. I'm not even thinking this. This is just coming because, it's a choice. Do I want to pick up, the edamame, or do I want to, pick up the California roll? Which is it do I want? Uh, but it's always a choice on my part. But be aware that once you pick it up, you will pay for it. Either and so you better do something with it. You better, enjoy it. You better love it. You better, make it something that is worth your having been there to do that, because you're going to pay for it no matter what you do with it. So it's important we know, and we make informed choices or intelligent choices. about what it is. So, yeah, and Glorian says Jesus tells us, watch them go by as if a procession with no judgment. Exactly. And as Jacob Glass will tell you, when it comes up, the story comes up, oh, I remember when this happened to me, the end. I don't have to go into any depth remembering, oh, he said this and they did that. The end. That's the whole story. I remember that. Oh, the end. No more. I'd rather see this than that. The end. I would rather, I'm not sure. I don't like, what happened in the election. The end. There's no more thought that needs to go into it. That's all there is. So, and now if I take it and make it into a big old story, then it's not the end. It's like now all of a sudden it's the beginning of something that's going to upset me or upset someone else, or I'm going to, go crazy or whatever. No, the end. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, it just came to me once again how the ego doesn't have an intelligence, that the ego mind that can't discern, can't discriminate. It's a machine. And it's a recording and playback machine. It just references itself and keeps repeating the same thing over and over because that's all it knows. It only has the information that it has, data, information, and then it goes into the things of reasons, excuses, justifications, rationalizations, all of that stuff. But that's all mechanical. We can discriminate. We can say, this is the truth of what I am. I am infinite love. I'm not that machine that keeps flipping out thoughts and feelings. We can do that. We have that power because we are the power. We come from an infinite power that's beyond comprehension. And it isn't. And it isn't us. Again, identify with thoughts and feelings. Why? They're not real. They're not true. They're not us. Identify with this body. Why? It isn't real. It's just a projected thought image. It's just another image. Identify with, whatever. Cars that are driving that, they're just projected images. And we have the power to discern or to discriminate and say, wait a minute. I'm infinite love. I'm infinite peace. I'm infinite bliss. I'm free. I'm unlimited. I'm abundance. I'm harmony. I'm wholeness. What does that got? What does all of this stuff got to do with that? Nothing. Well, then it isn't what I am. And as long as we maintain that power and don't get caught up in it, identify with it, then we are in touch with that peace, that love, the truth that we really are. Thank you.
Wow. That's it exactly. It's, who do I want to identify with? Glorian, please go ahead.
Yeah, Rafi, that was so important what you said right when you began speaking, that everything really is taking place on the level of mind. So if we recognize that the mind is really blank and we're filling it with our false concepts and projecting them out there, and we can make a different choice, experience ourselves as the love of God, and then extend. The ego projects, the Christ extends love. I'm just going to share a quick story. I think I've shared it before, but I don't know if everyone here heard it. Sandy, when she transitioned, she sent me a gift through a dream. And in the dream, there were two canvases that you would paint on or whatever have you. And one, it said, I love you. On the other one, it was blank. It was just a blank canvas. And I took that into contemplation after awaking. And she was telling me that this is a blank, that we're placing our meaning onto a blank place. So all the way, at first I was like, wow, what could you have possibly meant? And then the other side too, saying, I love you. God loves us. That's what the message was. I love you. The Christ loves you. And the spirit of what I am loves you. But on the other side was, you're going to place your images onto a blank slate. So what are you going to choose? Fear or love? Thank you.
Oh, I love that. That's what a beautiful gift that is too. And of course you recognized it because you were on that wavelength. Someone else might have just said that was a weird dream, and that would have been the end of it. So recognize that, you're only able to hear the music if you've attuned yourself to hear music instead of noise. And that's that's that was a beautiful story. And I heard someone else telling a story yesterday. Oh gosh, I listened to so much stuff yesterday. I was listening to Ken Wapnick. I was listening to Bruce Rawls. In fact, Bruce has sent me some things because we were talking about doing the looking into um, the law of attraction in accordance with the Course in Miracles, what all the attractions are that we have. So Bruce had done a couple of podcasts with Jackie, Laura, and then one with the School for A Course in Miracles, and where they were talking about those very things. And so I was listening to those as well. And it just seems like there's so much synchronicity here. And of course, it seems like there's so much synchronicity is because it's a confluence. And that's one thing we were talking about last night in my group when we were talking about resurrection consciousness, when he says that it is that it's where we're all coming together. It's everything is coming together now all at once, and there's a confluence of streams that are coming together, but not really because they've always been one. It's always been the one mind. Never has changed, never has been not that. So we're just the confluence is that we're coming to the recognition of what it is. Excuse me. And it is like, if you see something from a distance and you just barely see a figure moving, you can imagine that it's anything. But as you get closer and closer and closer to it, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, so that when you become really close to it, you see, oh, it's a dog or it's a person or it's a whatever. But from that far distance you can't see, and that's what we are. We think that we're at a distance from seeing the truth in reality. And doesn't mean that we're separate from it, doesn't mean that we're not in the same plane as it, doesn't mean that we're not there with it. It just means that we think that there is that there is a distance in time and space, and there's a distance between. It's just like, we were talking about becoming. I'm not becoming, I'm not going to become, I've never not been what I am. So I'm not going to become enlightened because that is what I am. I'm not going to become, there's no evolution from one thing to another, just like from, the time that Lynn was a toddler to, now, Lynn is, going to be 72 in a month. There's not, it's not a different distance difference at all. It's the same Lynn that's always been here. It's the same being that's always been here, whatever you want to call it. But it just hasn't come, I don't see the whole picture. I haven't come close enough to see the whole picture, or I haven't moved away from it enough. I love that, Bette Midler song, From a Distance, where, she's seeing, from a distance, everything is in harmony. In a distance, everything is working beautifully. From a distance, you can see how all these things are coming together in the perfect way. And then she says, God is watching us from a distance. That's what God's not looking at, the little parts of us that seem to be having problems. God is seeing the whole of us, and from this place where God is looking, everything is just moving along in a perfect procession and being exactly what it is, and that's the beauty of it. So, and Gloria says, remembrance of what always was and is now. Sharon, please go ahead.
I just love that song, From a Distance. I've been playing this song when I walk my dog all the time because we are instruments for the divine will. That's all we've been all along. And even when people seemingly think they're the character, it's still the divine will. Nobody's doing anything wrong because nothing even happened. But I love the harmony of that song because it's just exactly what we're talking about today. That the perfection is here. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do. You know, Doug had said something about, or maybe it was Ken, about need do nothing. And what that really means is, and I've heard Doug say this, not to interfere. And, you know, until the wholeness hears it, or until I think I took like I rule the mind because I alone must rule, it really is about the fact that we have a certain amount of control, but like I said, readiness with these layers. Like for me, there's just this readiness where I just want to be done. Because what am I talking about? I'm just talking about a story that never really happened other than a mind game that we're playing. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, it's the never-ending story. It's the never-ending story. It just goes on and on forever because, we made it. It's not like, there's something that we messed up. It just is what it is. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to share? And Glorian says, Sharon and I were just talking about Bette Midler. Yeah, synchronicity. Yeah, we are in synchronicity with each other, big time. There's no doubt in my mind that we are in this confluence. We're coming together. And I know. Here's something that came up in my group last night. Someone said, the word identity. The word identity means identical. It means the same. So my identity, my true identity is identical to the true identity of what everyone is, everything is. It's the same. And I love that because, we talk about my one true identity. Jesus talks about it a lot about what is our identity. In fact, let me look it up here. And so, yeah, it is what we are in truth. T-I-T-Y, there we go. If I put an E in there, it would actually, that's one thing, they don't know that you're misspelling things. There we go. 96, 96 results to the term identity in A Course in Miracles. And in the and he says, the ego, in the ego's language, to have and to be are different, but they are identical to the Holy Spirit. Um, so many places, be confident that you have never lost your identity and the extensions which maintain it in wholeness and peace. Remember that always that your identity is shared and that its sharing is reality. That's really what's happening here. Our identity is a shared identity. It is a whole identity. It is what we are. And I love that. It's just so perfect to have that understanding of what I truly am. What I am is what I am. Are you what you are or what? Let's see. Anybody else have any hands up or anything anybody else wants to say? Because I'm kind of out of words. I'm all out of words.
I'm actually going to have to go because I keep getting, that was flowers that were delivered to me. And then I have different things I'm supposed to do today. But what a birthday. When I tell you, you guys made me the best party ever.
Aw, I
It was just
love
the
that.
best party ever. I actually don't want to go. I might stay on Zoom and just call. I've been getting like presents, like people from Philly, like that turned 70 like me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of fun, but at the same time, I have to keep in mind that they are just me. Everything's a mirror. There's
That's it.
nobody here that's not me.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it
It
took me
is.
70 years to find that out. And now I want to
But you've
stay there
always
because,
known it.
well, we
Lori, should
always
we,
know it. I mean, if one knows it, everyone knows it. It's just that some of us, I think Adishante Wynn said to the light once, stop kidding, light. Just stop it. Because we want so much, like Ken says, to remain separate. Why? I don't know. Why? Habit, I guess. Getting, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, why we want to remain separate?
Yeah.
Because we
Fear?
think that we think we have a separate identity.
Right.
Glorian,
I think we're
please,
the body.
yeah,
But
it
why? It's such a booby prize. Think about it. It's a booby prize.
it really is.
I'm thinking is thinking.
It is really a just craziness. Glorian, please
yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
just wondering, we should read the beginning, comments that lead into the workbook. We could do that.
Will
Sure.
you tape this too? Because I'm going to get on the phone to return some calls, but I'm going to be on here too. But I just
Yeah.
want you to tape it, okay?
Yeah, it's all being done. It's all being recorded right
All right.
now.
Perfect.
I got
Yeah,
I got a little more time, and we should be, and then that would be good, because that's important.
yeah, let's go look at that. Let's see. Introduction to the workbook. All right. You go ahead and put that up on the share. All right. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Mhm. Should we just each read a paragraph and just read through it? And
Sure.
yeah, because it's pretty self-explanatory, unless there's something that jumps out at us. Sure, I'll start. Workbook for Students, Introduction. A theoretical foundation such as the text provides is necessary as a framework to make the exercises in this workbook meaningful. Yet it is doing the exercises that will make the goal of the course possible. An untrained mind can accomplish nothing. It is the purpose of this workbook to train your mind to think along the lines the text sets forth. So basically, he's just telling us that we need the mind training, which is looking at the error and the upside down thinking so that we can make a change.
All right. I guess I'll read paragraph 2. Oh, hi, Lori. The exercises are very simple. They do not require a great deal of time, and it does not matter where you do them. They need no preparation. The training period is 1 year, right? The exercises are numbered from 1 to 365. Do not undertake to do more than one set of exercises a day. And oh man, do I know people who have tried doing that? Have tried doing, I'm going to do, one every hour all day. I'm going to just, change. No, the point of it is to make it a habit of doing the thing that you're doing and just that thing today. Nothing else. There's no other thing to be doing. Just this. If you can do one of them, that's what Jesus tells us. If you can even do one of them, then you've won the game. There's no more to do if you could just do one of the lessons as written, particularly. And doesn't mean, every hour on the hour I do this. Is actually literally doing what it tells me to do. If I can look around at everything and say, nothing here has any meaning to me, I know that. I know that. Then what else can you add to that? You can't. There's no addition to it. It just is. Doing it once is doing it, 1,000 times. If you actually do it once and do it the way that it is being given us to do, then you're going to have the peace of God is just going to be there for you because you have made the choice. And the choice is to be one with the Holy Spirit in in oneness. Who would like to read paragraph 3? Or Gloria, if you want to read it. Oh, let's see.
No, I'll let somebody else read, but I just wanted to say to what you said, it's so important to recognize the willingness to follow the guidance. And this is guidance that we're receiving from Jesus and how to apply these lessons so that the mind training works. And I think once we come to look at that, it's the authority problem. Again, the ego saying, well, I'm going to do it this way. And that's not really, that this is what he's telling us to do, which will work. So that's something to take a look at there. But I like what Ken said. I heard this years ago. I was listening to one of the tapes, and I'm not sure about which lesson or what grouping of lessons, but he said, if you are doing these workbook lessons, the right way, accurately, you're going to be in grave anxiety because it brings you to that place of recognition that not for one moment do you exist. And that's exactly the place that we want to get to. The ego does not exist. Surrender it so then we can follow the directions. So anyhow, Mickey might want to read.
Yeah, thank you, Gloria, and exactly it. If we just came to the point that we recognize, that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists, and all the only thing that's happening is what's real, then the rest of it just goes away. Mickey, yeah, please go ahead, sweetheart. Good morning.
Good morning. I've been listening all morning, but I've been tidying and making breakfast and doing all the morning stuff. But this what we're talking about now ties in directly to something that Rafi and Sharon were talking about before. Why do we resist this? Why do we resist being one? It's because the lesson today was so profound, and I get together with my friends and read Ken's commentary on the lesson every morning. And it was so evident that if you really, really do this stuff exactly as it says, you realize you do not exist. And that scares the crap out of people. I have to admit, this personality, this projection doesn't exist. I would have to give up Mickey completely. The idea of Mickey would have to go. And that's scary. That's even after all I know, that's still a little scary. Raffi says, I wasn't born. I don't exist. I can't die. There's no me. And I'm not a separate ego concept. That's not easy for people to swallow. That whole idea that, yeah, I don't really exist. I'm one in the mind of God. But do I want to give up everything? Can I accept that none of this exists? It's not easy when you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you see a face there staring at you that you've seen all your life. So I'll shut up. I see other people have their hands up.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for that, Mickey. And again, not to relay the same point over again, but it's easy enough for me to say, yeah, Lynn doesn't exist. It's not so easy to say Lynn's children don't exist. Lynn's the world that depends on Lynn doesn't exist.
Exactly.
But it's the truth. It's the
That's
truth.
I just want to say, because I was going to leave, but I just feel like that is what you just shared, Nikki, is exactly what I've been looking at, the fear of not ever being here. And, again, I think that's why for this mind, I roll back into the delusion. Because there's got to be like whatever it is, it's just being honest and telling Jesus, I'm scared. And that's what I've been doing. And I do feel a commitment now to the process. And when I fall down, the only thing I can do then is laugh. But taking this, you don't want to take anything serious here because it's all happening by the divine will. But I do agree with you, Mickey. That is really what Ken was doing a lot, was nailing it for most of us. And let me speak for myself. When he would say that, I would say, I don't know if that's true, but of course that's true. It's the ego that says, I don't know if that's true. But of course that's true. Because do you realize that there's been no world, no time, no birthday? They're just memories of pictures that happened in an instant. And we keep playing around with it, believing that we're these characters. So it's beautiful what you shared, Mickey. And I want to thank you, Lori. You made my day yesterday when I got that beautiful note, happy, well wishes. Thank you. You don't know how much that meant to me. Everything means so much because, as I said, I shared this morning, I spoke to Zuma early this morning and, I was making nothing out of my birthday. And she said, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because you've lived seemingly for 70 years and you want to be grateful for that. See, you can, to completely annihilate the character doesn't help because while we're here, we made the world. And The Inner Ramana is a great book. And it says you're supposed to enjoy yourself here. And that's really what God wants in the Course. But what I thought was, oh my God, the self-hatred's got to be so deep. And it is. It is that deep. Because from here on in, I'm calling this right now, as 70 I am, that I just don't want the illusion anymore. I can play in it, but I want to know that there's no more complaining, that truly what's outside of me is a cartoon of my consciousness. So I just love what you shared. Thank you.
Yeah,
I had to
thank you.
go, but I can't pull myself away.
Go, 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 go,
Now
go.
I'll wait because it's like, I just have to make a call to a lovely person that she's an artist and she made all these cards for me. And I just thought that was beautiful. Like I want to enjoy all my projections too at this point. And what Lynn was saying is, Sharon, it's the same thing. Like, okay, I can say I don't exist, but my children, are you kidding me? That's a trigger for me. And that's just because of the animal that exists seemingly. So that's what we were reading this morning, and I'm going to read next week. Because what Ken talks about in Parents and Children is basically how much hate is in this mind. How much real hate is in this mind. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Let
Thank
it be
you
our
for-
Independence Day right here, right now. That's like Bill said. Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And it is our Independence Day right here, right now. I love that. The 14th of January, my Independence Day. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, to address two aspects. The first one is the fear that we're going to lose everything. Somebody mentioned it earlier. Lester Levinson said that's one of the basic fears that keeps us from remembering the truth of our infinite self. And he said, and the fact of the matter is, you don't lose anything, you gain even more because there is nothing outside the all, and you are the all. So you don't lose anything, you actually gain it all. The other thing is the question of fear. And once again, fear is only a feeling. I get a big kick out of in you guys when you say, well, there's only two feelings, there's love and fear. Love is not a feeling. It feels like a feeling, but love is the state of being. Fear is merely a feeling. Yes, fear. Yes, fear. Yes, fear. I love you, fear. I love you, fear. And now I'm letting you go. And it's as simple as that. KISS. Keep it simple, sweetheart. If you just recognize the fear as just another feeling, and they all come up to leave, and you welcome it completely, and then you make the decision to allow it to go, there's no more fear. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. And what I'm going to do here, because now it's time for our Tuesday morning with friends, so I'm going to actually stop.